Hi, guys. Thanks for joining me today. It is our first installment of Meet the Team. And of course, we're going to start with Greg Gunn, the founder of Family ID. We're going to learn more about Greg, and it is my honor to host this interview and to learn more about you, Greg. So thanks for hanging on. Thanks for watching. You're going to enjoy the show. Greg, it is great to see you today, buddy.
Hey, Derek, it's so good to be here with you, my man. I'm so excited about just getting to share with all of our listeners and those that are friends of Family ID, just a little bit about how this thing kind of got started and going, and then I just feel like I'm going to have even closer friends because of this interview. So thank you, Derek.
Well, absolutely. This was actually Gina, my wife's idea. One day she said, hey, what would be great is if you guys took videos and shot a video of the team so that people who don't know you personally can get to know you. And Greg, I think this is a great opportunity for people who maybe have seen you on a stage or seen you on a screen or read the book or heard your name around, for them to get to know you.
I got you.
They're going to love you when they do. So start us off. Okay, we're all about family. Tell us about your family. Who's in it? How old are they generally?
Oh, good.
All of it. Fill us in.
Okay, sure. Rhonda and I have been married for 37 years. This Family ID idea came about when we were, it really started when we were in about 1997. So we were married in 1983, and so in 1997, when Ron and I started doing Family ID. So we've been married 37 years. Our oldest daughter, we have 7 children. I always say this jokingly that we have 7 children. They're all boys. Can you believe that? All boys except for 5 of them, right? We have 5 girls, 2 boys. We had 4 daughters first. Our oldest daughter, Hannah, was born in 1986, and she's 34. And so we were so excited. We really actually wanted 6 children. That was kind of what we talked about when we were dating and courting and engaged. And we wanted a big family, and that was kind of our desire. And so we had Hannah, and then we thought, probably in a year or 2, we're going to have another one. And like a year or 2 goes by and we didn't have another one. We weren't, and we're going, okay, we'd like to go ahead and get pregnant now, So we start kind of going, all right, let's pray about it, and start praying. And the 3rd year goes by, and there's nobody. The 4th year is coming, and we're going, are we just going to have like one child, But then we went to our local church, and we'd read the scripture that you're to have the elders lay their hands on you and pray. And
right.
So we went, we had the elders come and lay their hands on us. And literally within 90 days, Rhonda was pregnant with our 2nd daughter, who's Bethany.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, we were so excited. So they're 4 years apart, a little over 4 years apart. And we're so blessed to have Beth. So she's 30. And then we were saying, oh, good. We got, in fact, in those first two pregnancies, Rhonda had some very, very huge challenges physically, that they called it hemolytic anemia. And it was like her body, her immune system saw the pregnancy as like something that needed, it starts producing all these antibodies, and those antibodies were killing her red blood cells. And so the doctor said, hey, we're going to suggest that you not have any more children. And then she had some of the same problems with Bethany, not as severe. And then we're going, oh man, but we still felt like we're supposed to have, we wanted to have 6 kids. So anyway, we have Bethany, and she was it was wonderful. And so we're going, okay, Lord, now we're going to have, and a year goes by, and 2 years, and 3 and 4 years go by, Lord. And there was during that time, I know there may be lots of women out there who really have desired to be pregnant. And every month that you discover you're not pregnant becomes this depressing month or this depressing week after that. You're going, oh, what, hey, I have been through it. Rhonda and I have agonized with parents who have dealt with that. And so we just know, we know what you're going through. We went through it. So, and in fact, it was, we said, okay, we're going to have to go back to the elders of our church. It's been over 4 years, so I'm almost now 5.
Let's do it again, right?
Go pray. So we go back. They lay hands on us. Within 90 days, Rhonda's pregnant. And then this true story, my brother and his wife were dealing with some of the very same things. And we had them go to our elders. They don't even our church.
Hey, here's our elders work. Why don't you come over to our church? They'll pray on you. It's almost a guarantee, right? Yeah.
True. And they got pregnant. It was incredible. Anyway, so then we ended up having Esther, and we were so excited. And then our kids started coming about every 2 years after that. We had Esther, who's now 26, and then Leah, who's 24, and then Mariah, who's Josiah came, was our first son. And we said, okay, great, praise the Lord, we got us a boy, and he's now 23. And then Mariah was born, our 5th daughter, and she turns 21 in August of this year. And then Rhonda said, well, that's 6, but don't we need another boy for Josiah to have a brother? Oh yeah, that would be great. Sure enough, we got pregnant with our Jacob. So Jacob will turn 19 this month in June, as we record this in June. And so yeah, it's unbelievable. And I say this all the time, and I want to encourage you dads and parents to say things like this. I'm the richest man in the world, or we're the richest parents in the world. And each one of you children are my greatest treasure. And I feel like that. Our kids are just our greatest treasure, and one of the greatest blessings that God could have ever bestowed upon us. I can see why God loves all his kids so much,
Right. They're all different, but they're all equal, right? It's the first time you actually understand, hey, everyone is different, but I love you all equal. It's the first time it actually makes sense.
I also kind of keep it kind of hush hush, but I say, you're the most wonderful daughter I have. I say it to each other. They know that. Hey, you know what? You're the best boy I've got in my whole family. And so anyway, just little things like that. I want to go over the top. It's because our children perceive our silence as rejection. So I just want to kind of be an over the top verbalizer of my love and my commitment for each one of them. And so, yeah, so that's the ages of our kids. Now we have 5 grandchildren. Our oldest daughter has 3 of our 5 grandchildren are with Hannah, and so Nevaeh is 14, Kova is 7, and Ronan is 4. And then we have Esther, who's our 3rd daughter. Esther and her husband Daniel have 2 children, and one is Ezekiel, who just turned 4, and then our little precious Luna, who was just born a few weeks ago. So that's our 5, and we're probably going to have some more in the future.
That's so exciting, Greg. I want to go back to real quick before we jump off your family. I want to talk about just those words of encouragement. And I've gotten the blessing to hear you talk about being a CEO, the Chief Encouragement Officer. And I think it's important to do that inside the family. In fact, I was listening to a message from North Point Community Church today, and the pastor, he was a guest speaker, a guest pastor, but he was talking about the power of our words. And he referenced a study. I won't even try to remember the study, but he said they found that for high performance teams or high performance families, or if you want high performance, you have to speak 5
Wow.
positive, encouraging words for every one negative word. And that is so challenging in today's environment, because
Right.
with social media and emails, there's essentially no accountability. And in that same study, it said that right now, the norm for today is 3 negative words for 1 positive word, is what we consume on a normal basis. But if we want high performance, it's 5 positive for 1 negative. And so I just want to touch on that real quick, that what you're saying about encouraging the family is so vital for the success of a family. And I love to hear that you do that. And by gosh, I've witnessed you do that time and time and time again with your family.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, Derek, I see that same thing in you. And I think the reason why most people don't, I mean, when I heard that, that your team, your family, your kids, your spouse, everybody you work with, everybody you lead perceives your silence as rejection, I was like bowled over. I mean, wait, I didn't have any intention of rejection. Even if I speak negatively, I think a lot of, like you said, there's 3 negative words that most people speak to somebody or to their team or whatever, to their kids, compared to every 1 positive word. It just no wonder so many people grew up in a family who didn't verbalize their love, their commitment. They worked for a company that didn't verbalize their love, their commitment, their appreciation, And true story, I actually had this very early on in the very beginning of Family ID. We had one of the first couples that ever went through the workshop. It was even before it was a workshop. We took a few of our friends through how to write a family mission statement, and this, I remember this one lady said, my dad showed me in 1,000 different ways that he loved me. I mean, 1,000 ways he did. He was a wonderful dad, but he never said it. And she said, I'd give up 900 of those 1,000 just to hear him say it.
Just to hear.
Wow. That was like, that is so seared into my memory, that she would say that, and the facial expression she had, and the kind of the tear in her eye. Of course, he had passed away before, before she was even able to share that with me. But her dad had already passed away, so she was just looking back at this wonderful man who had showed her in 1,000 different ways that he loved her, and served the family, and gave, worked so hard for the family, used all of the money he made that for the family, not for himself, but for them. And just was a great, a great person, and on. But he just didn't say it. And so that's why I feel like that's such a powerful tool that God has given us. And for most of us, because we've never seen it, we honestly don't have anything in the well of memory of what it meant, what it meant for someone to say and speak blessing. And so it's almost awkward to say something positive. It's a lot more common to be kind of sarcastic with your family, and funny with your family. And I've even said this many times, that you can be sarcastic with everyone in your life except your family. Mm-hmm. You can't laugh at your family's expense. You can laugh at everybody else's expense. You can make fun of everybody else in the world. You can go around laughing about, make fun of your people and the neighbors and your best friend. You can bust their, you kind of bust on them, and kind of make, amplify every mistake they make and laugh at it type thing. You can't do it at home. That is sacred ground. That you can't speak and laugh and make fun of a family member. You got to go over the top and be positive. I had one family say, "My gosh, Greg, if we can't be sarcastic, we wouldn't have anything to talk about." if I can't use sarcasm with my family, oh my gosh, I can't make fun of my family. What are we going to talk about? can you imagine? And most family members don't say, they don't say anything, or they quit being such a baby. I didn't. I was just joking. I was just kidding. You know, that's something you can do with others. But man, it's so important that we don't become that. We don't laugh at the expense of a family member, right?
Right. Well, I mean, one more comment on this, and then we'll jump off, because we could talk about this all day long. But
no kidding.
When you talk about taking silence as rejection, if you think about it for a second, if you hear 300% more negative than you do positive, then of course my mind is going to reel on the negative. I'm going to replay the negative, and I'm going to assume, hey, if they say 300% more negative stuff than they do positive stuff, well, they're probably, if they're not saying it, they are surely thinking it, and they are thinking negative about me. And so we can run down that rabbit trail. Okay,
good.
But back to you, Greg.
Well, and real quick, one more thing. That when you said that the study says that you need to have 5 to 1, 5 positive for every 1 negative. And I got to thinking about it, because I would have a tendency to go to 500 to 1, and yet that's not healthy. That's not healthy for you to go to 500 positive things. Then you fall into the participation trophy type of you become almost dishonest with your family instead of and so there needs to be a healthy balance, and that healthy balance is 5 to 1, not 3 negative for every 1 positive. So I think that's a good word. But for most of us, we have to go overboard with positive. We have to go crazy positive just to even kind of go from 300% negative to to 3 to 1 to 1 to 5. So anyway, good word.
I agree.
All
okay,
right.
So tell us about you, because we could talk about that all. I've got more there, but I'm going to leave it. Where'd you grow up?
Okay, I grew up in Ada, Oklahoma. It's a little small town in southeast Oklahoma, about an hour and a half from Oklahoma City. Great town, great place to grow up. About 15,000 people in my town, so it was big enough to have lots of places to go and things to do, and restaurants, and wonderful. I grew up in a place where as long as I got home sometime before dinner or around dinner time, my parents didn't even know where I was. That's like,
right.
Wow, the world today, that's just like the most impossible thought, to think your kids could be out going and running. I rode my bike everywhere, and there was a local public swimming pool there, just 5 or 6 blocks from my house. So man, I was always at the local pool all summer, and had so much fun. And I have an older sister. She's 10 months and 2 weeks older than me. My mom had 4 children in 5.5 years. So I'm the second born of 4 children, but I have 2 younger brothers. So I'm the firstborn of 3 boys. So I have some of the firstborn tendencies, and then I have some secondborn. So man, I'd love for our listeners to get the birth order book and learn so many incredible things about the personality traits of first, second, third, and so forth. But so we were very close in age, and I remember my sister and I started school together in the 1st grade. So she was actually one of the oldest in our class, and I was the youngest in our class.
Okay.
And so they allowed both my sister and I. My mom thought that would be so cool for us to go to school together, which was terrible. My sister I always really looked up to her. We were even in the same 1st grade class. There were 2 1st grade classes. They had my sister and I in one. They finally had to separate us, put us in 2 different classes, because I wouldn't do anything unless my sister gave me permission to do it. So, but I quickly got over that, and so anyway, just so grew up there. I was born with a dyslexia, so my mom was a dyslexic. There's some inherited traits they believe in dyslexia. So I had a terrible time in school. I didn't really know it till I was in the 2nd grade, and they had this blue table at the back of the room. And of course, 1st grade, I thought I was pretty smart. And then I get into the 2nd grade, and they say, "Now, Greg, you go sit at that blue table back there. That's where all the slow kids That's where the slow kids sit. Oh my gosh, the kids that walk by with their see my thumb, gee, you're dumb. Oh man. I tell you, I remember praying, Lord, what is it that you don't like about me? That you've made me where I'm not good in school, where I'm dumb. Why did you make me like that? Oh, dude, it was pretty traumatic.
Oh, I bet so.
I realized that if a child ever gets humiliated in school, they spend the rest of their school experience avoiding humiliation, and learning becomes a second or third, goal to be had at school. So, oh man, I just know that but you know what? I really discovered that being dyslexic was actually an advantage, and that there's a book out called The Dyslexic Advantage. But I'm telling you, that book hadn't even been thought of when I was a kid. Oh my God. It was the dyslexic disadvantage. I thought I was the most disadvantaged person on the earth, I truly saw it as a handicap. And man, it just, because everything kind of in our family revolved around, just being good in school. In fact, it was kind of in the culture. You got to be good in school, school is your world. And man, if I wasn't good at that, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be good at anything. So, so that was a tough row to hoe. And so it required that I had to learn differently. I went to every remedial reading course. I had to go to school during the summer, not all during, felt like it was all during the summer, but a few weeks in the summer, I had to go to some kind of remedial reading program. Oh dude, it was just, I just didn't like school because of that. And thus I didn't like to read. I wasn't good at reading. My spelling is still, really suspect to this day. But the thing is that God really used that to help me to be an overcomer. Mm-hmm. It just required me to be an overcomer. And somewhere in my, as I got into high school, got into high school, it seemed like I had memorized enough words that I could read pretty good. Okay. I couldn't sound out a word, but I could memorize a word. And I finally got, my vocabulary had grown enough. And of course I could only write the words I'd memorized how to spell. So my writing I didn't use a lot of big words. So anyway.
Well, there's a book, Outliers, by Malcolm Gladwell, that talks about, and he gives an example of a trial attorney that also grew up with dyslexia, and because of that, he did develop that skill that you're talking about, to overcome, and he had to learn how to essentially coerce and how to defend his position and communicate with teachers to say, hey, look, I did not do very well on that test, but if you question me, I will get all the answers correct, right? It's because I couldn't read the test or I couldn't write down the answers, but I know them. And if you'll give me the chance to do that. And it was those skills that helped develop him into one of the most premier trial attorneys in all the country. Wow. And it was because he was given what perceived as a disadvantage as a kid, but now when you look at it as an adult, man, what an advantage he was given to learn and grow and develop all those skills.
Right. In fact, almost everybody I meet knows somebody that is dyslexic, and I think it's something that you can bless them with to learn about what is the dyslexic advantage. And I honestly now today see dyslexia as a blessing. And I've even told that to my kids, because some of our children have dyslexia as well. And all of us, all my older sister, my two younger brothers, all had dyslexia. My youngest brother had it the most severe. And so by the time he was in school, they would let him take his tests verbally.
Yep.
And there was the League of the Blind would allow him to use their recording equipment and there were people, you could send a book into the League of Blind. They would have someone read it on tape and then send you the tape, and they would even send you the tape recorder to listen to the tape of books. And then he would take the test verbally. And again, very, very intelligent, extremely intelligent, but yet just like this attorney, I could see how So yeah, they would do his tests
I'm sorry,
orally.
Greg. What's a tape and a tape recorder? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Exactly. For our audience who's never even seen a tape.
Okay, so you and Rhonda, you guys were married for, if my math's correct, about 14 years, and then you had this crazy idea for Family ID. Where did this come from? How did it get started for you?
Well, it was I had become a financial service. I'd started my financial services business and career in April of 1980. I was a junior in college. This company was recruiting people from the university. One of my friends had gone through one of their interviews and invited me to meet with the guy that was interviewing people. And I joined this company as a junior in college on a part-time basis. I was able to get my this was an insurance and investment company that I joined, and they actually were excited about hiring part-time people. And so I thought, dude, I could be an investment broker. I could handle mostly life insurance and investments was what we started out with. And so I joined that company. I took the exam. I passed my test, and I started part time in 1980. And then I met Rhonda later that year. And that's this company just, man, I loved it. They were incredibly. They made me feel so special. They were huge on encouragement. They were huge on positive mental attitude. They were gigantic fanatics on self-improvement. So they really encouraged us to get better, and to become and to set goals. They were this big time goal setting. The positive peer pressure to grow and to read books. They said there were only three things that were going to make the difference between where you are today and where you're going to be in 5 years. And it's the books you read, the people you meet, and the places you go. Those are the things that are going to have the biggest impact on the person you become in the next 5 years. So, man, they were drilling us on every possible self-improvement, the newest book out. They wanted it. We even had times where we created a book of the month club. We got people reading a book every month, listening to a cassette tape of some so in our car as we drove around. And we would take the tape out and put a mark on it as to the number of times we'd listened to that tape. And we would we would do challenges to listen to the same tape 100 times. So you'd have 100 marks on your cassette tape. Wow. That you'd listen to that same tape 100 times, So this crazy stuff like that, stuff that most normal human beings would consider,
Right.
But we'd one of the guys in our company said, listen, you don't have to be a fanatic to win, winning and changing the world. You don't have to be a fanatic. You have to be a wild-eyed fanatic. And there's a difference. That's how crazy these people were. Okay. So anyway, as I started this financial services business, met Rhonda, she became this incredible partner in that business because we realized we weren't in the financial services business. We were in the people business. Yep. And as we began to build relationships with people and the Lord just blessed that business. And we got, by the time I was 1997, we had about 800 licensed agents. We were in 5 states. We were selling term life insurance and mutual funds. In fact, Dave Ramsey was a part of our company. He had gotten into the financial services business through our company, and Dave started the big radio program. And the guy that he started with was a guy named Roy Matlock. Roy and I were great friends, and so in 1997, we were building that financial services business, and I had at church the associate pastor at our church. His name was David Smith. He was absent one week, and the next week he was back. And I said, "Hey, David, where were you last week?" I missed you at church. He said, oh yeah, Greg, this is our annual, this is the time we go away once a year. We write on our family goal setting weekend. I said, oh, what now? He said, yeah, this is our 5th year. We go away once a year. We write goals for our marriage, goals for each of our children. We work on and kind of evaluate our year. We look at each of our core values and kind of determine, did we live out those values, or did we just claim them and we didn't live them out? Were they just claimed values, or were they lived out? And so he said, we also work on our family mission statement and our vision. We kind of evaluate that. And I'm just saying, I'm dazed. Okay. I'm standing there dazed as he's talking, because I'm thinking, look, I'm the most self-improvement driven, goal setting, take my team away, work on goals. Oh, I'm just like, it's like, oh, David, stop. You got to write me out an agenda of exactly what you do on this family goal setting weekend deal. Because I thought I would easily do this for my business, but the thought of doing that for my family hasn't been within 1,000 miles of my head. It was just a shock that I lost my breath. I'm standing there going, how could I have missed that? I mean, I'm a fanatical, crazy person when it comes to all this, and I haven't even thought about that. And so it was just like perfect timing. He did, sure. So he got a piece of paper out and he wrote out an agenda on it and told us what to do. He said, first thing you need to do is drive an hour and a half or an hour, give yourself some windshield time. Go to the hotel and lock yourselves in the hotel room. Try to go to the same hotel every year, because that way you're not thinking you need to go look at all these new things you haven't seen before. Go to the same place. Give yourself time to really think. Spend the first 1 hour in prayer. So I remember Ron and I we closed the hotel. We had our 3rd daughter by that time, Esther. Esther was 6 months old when we went on this trip, and so she's in her little baby carriage thing, and
so Esther was with you. Esther was with you, right?
That's right. Esther was in the hotel room with us. So so she's sitting over there. She's asleep. Ron and I are in the hotel room. We just kneel there by the bed, and we just start praying. And we pray for everything we can think of. We pray. We're going to pray an hour. Praying, and we're praying. We look down. It's been 20 minutes. Oh my! We got 40 more minutes. Okay. So we grab the Bible and we open it up and we start looking. And we start praying the scripture. And one of the scriptures we opened to was in Jeremiah chapter 35. And it's the story of the Rechabites. And it's this family that their great-great-grandfather Jonadab had established this family. And this family was invited by Jeremiah to come into the temple. And he had a word from the Lord for the family and the descendants of this Jonadab, son of Rechab, in Jeremiah 35. Now, honestly, I'd read the Bible, I'd read Jeremiah, but I don't know where. I didn't read that. I didn't even know that story was in there. So it was all new to me. So we're reading through this, and it says that this family, Jeremiah sets wine out before them, says, "Hey, drink the wine." They drink it. They say, "Look, no, we're not going to drink the wine." Why not? Why not? Well, our great grandfather gave us this command that we're not to drink wine, we're not to own land, and we're not to grow crops. You, your children, and your children's children forever. This is the 3 things we want you to do, and we've been following that faithfully. And so we're not going to drink the wine. In fact, because we did that, because we followed those, when Nebuchadnezzar, the Chaldeans came into Israel and took so many Israeli families captive and others destroyed, we simply rolled up our tents and we moved out of town, and the destruction swept through, and our family was preserved. And so because of that, we're not going to drink that, because it would be disobeying those commands. And Jeremiah says, thank you. This was a test to see if you would disobey these family core values. These were specifically core values just to them. This wasn't something that, God isn't against us owning land. He's
Right.
not against
Right.
us growing crops. He's not against us drinking wine in moderation, right? So, these were just family core values. And so if you read Jeremiah 35, the Lord says to the Rechabites, in fact, Jeremiah said, look, the Lord wants to use your family as an example to all of Israel, that your family were given these simple instructions. In fact, come to find out 200 years earlier, that's when they were given. And they faithfully had been following them for 200 years. And then when they were given an opportunity to break or to not obey them, they all in unison said, we're not, as if they got them last week.
Right.
I mean,
they were still as passionate about it 200 years later.
Come on. That's like a wonder. That is like a complete wonder, right? That's wonderful. How did they pass it to every generation successfully? How did they make that attractive? I mean, you can make that ugly, I guess, and you can make it attractive. And somehow they made it attractive, right? And so Jeremiah said, because the Lord has given his commandments through the prophets to every generation, and the people still don't follow it. And because you Rechabites have done that, you will always have a godly descendant who will serve me. And I thought, Lord, okay, that's what I want. Rhonda and I said, Lord, would you give us the Rechabite blessing? Could you give us, the Gunn family, 3 things that we could pass to every generation of our family? And then in that time, that's when God began to formulate, and out of the end of our pen comes this family vision statement, to lay the foundations for many godly generations. Mm-hmm. Dude, that was like the most incredible blessing. It summed up everything we would ever want to do on this earth. And if we could pass that vision to every generation, if every generation could get it, and then we came up with the 3 things we want to pass to every generation of our family. Number 1, for every family member, that they would see their family as their first and most important ministry, their first and most important disciples would be your family. Oh, dude, if we could make sure every generation of our family were, kind of the big what is lay the foundations for many godly generations. But the 3 instructions would be that they see their family as their first, most important ministry and disciples. Second, that they would be heavily involved in helping their children and grandchildren discover who they're supposed to marry, because who you marry affects everything. And then third, that we would put an end to unresolved sibling conflict, unresolved extended family conflict. Okay, that we would just put an end to those, to the family conflicts that Ishmael and Isaac had, that Cain and Abel had, that Joseph and his brothers had, and on and on. We want every generation of our family to treat each other better than their best friends. So if we could pass those 3 to every generation, we ask for the Rechabite blessing to be poured out upon our family. So so that happened then in 1997. God gave us what is the beginning. Little did I know at that time that simple statement of laying the foundations for many godly generations. We didn't have 5 core values at that time. Right. We didn't have a mission statement at that time. All we had was that, and that was plenty. That was plenty for us to live on for 2 or 3 years. We lived on that, and got excited about that, and talked about it all the time, and put it on a piece of artwork, and put it in our living room, and put our favorite family scripture up there. We had it framed and above our fireplace. Man, we just talked about it all the time, and it really was powerful. And then later, we realized, you know what, we need to come up with some core values. We need a statement of mission, a purpose statement as well, and then creating the family slogan came out of that. But again, on that date when we wrote, literally it just came out of the end of our pen, to lay the foundations for many godly generations. Little did we know that would become my life's work, that we would begin this incredible journey of building what is today Family ID, that helps families lay the foundation for many godly generations,
And
right?
that was enough, right? I mean, on that day, on day one, that was enough. That was enough to
Amen.
carry
That
you
was
or sustain you from that point going forward.
right,
And
right.
you didn't know all the steps. You didn't know how you were
No,
going to reach families in
no,
across the United States or Central or South
right.
America. Like, it was just, this is for us, and this is enough. And this is
Yeah,
enough. Okay, so
yeah,
so keeping us rolling forward here.
yeah.
Tell me this, okay? To help families know you better, after 25 years ish of living this out, what are a couple things that you and Rhonda really feel like you nailed it on? Like, you know what?
Okay.
This was something that we did excellent, or we did great, or you know what? I am really proud of living with intentional direction on that
Right,
Tuesday afternoon back in 2010 when we did this,
right,
or whatever it is, a project.
right.
What do you got?
Well, I think number one, we started doing a family night activity. One of the things that, as you know, I was a business owner. We had lots of people in our organization, and of course I was busy many times. I would get up before my kids were awake, and I'd get home after they were asleep, or I would be traveling and I wouldn't be home, and so I'm just thinking, Lord, how in the world am I going to pass, because this laying a foundation for many godly generations was so in our vocabulary. It had overcome, it had become a part of the way we think. I was thinking, when I'm not doing that, I feel it. I feel the fact that I'm not doing that. Okay. And I think that's one of the most powerful things about goal setting and about having a vision, is that when you're not doing it, you recognize you're not doing it. It's
Right.
like you don't feel good about yourself,
Right.
because you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. And so I remember growing up that my grandfather was one of the most influential men in my life. He died when I was 12 years old. He died at 74, which I thought was incredibly young at the time, right? But he was the kind of guy that made every one of his grandchildren feel like they were his favorite. In fact, even to this day, if you were to talk to one of my cousins, they would say, no, I was grandpa's favorite. Okay. No, you weren't. I was. And so I thought, dude, I want to be like that. I would love to have that same kind of, and he was just a happy go lucky, incredible, great businessman, had a car dealership, and he was just an incredible person. And so I always want to be like him. And so I went to work for my uncle, who took over the car business when I went to college. I went to college in Oklahoma City metro area, Bethany, Oklahoma. And the college that I went to, the car dealership was just down the street. So I went to work for my uncle part-time to make some money while I was going to college. And he took off every Wednesday. Wednesday was his day off, because he had to work every Saturday. And so he took off Sunday, and his second day off during the week was on Wednesday. And so I thought, well, growing up, you know what? If I could ever set a date for me to go have a day off, I'm going to choose Wednesday, because Uncle Vic took off on Wednesday. And so we made that our family day. And so I called my team, I called my office, I sat down with our organization. I said, listen, I'm going to start taking off on Wednesday. I'm going to make that my family day. So I can't tell you, even though I was a crazy busy building this business and on, and then building the business and running a ministry at the same time, that gave me the most, I tell you, instead of me burning out, I could have easily burned out, on that kind of schedule. But I knew on Tuesday night, the moment I left work on Tuesday night, I was off until Thursday morning. That seemed like the greatest thing in the world. And so, and it also sent this message to our organization that, if I'm going to take off on Wednesday, I'm making that my family day. I put it on my voicemail. Hey, this is Greg. If you've I can't take your call right now. And if it's on a Wednesday, I won't be able to return your call until Thursday because I'm on my family day or whatever. So, and that sent a message to the entire organization that Greg is pretty serious about that. So if I could think of something that I did right, was I started taking off on Wednesday. And you know what? I thought my business is going to go under. I'm going to lose money. I won't be able to pay my bills. And you know what? The opposite happened. My business grew. My income went up. And I thought, dude, this works. So I started taking off on Thursday as well. I'm kidding. You can't take that too far. Anyway, so that again, that would be one of my one of the things. The second one would be that on this family night, we really became intentional on family night, that we found these incredible books called Family Night Tool Chest. Incredible books. There's like 14 volumes. They look almost like a coloring book. It's kind of that kind of paper. Yep. And they had little family night activities you can do that also had a message in it. It had a good moral message, and they were 14 volumes. They're out of print right now. In fact, Derek, you and I need to figure out how we can get the rights just to reprint some of those family night tool chests. I'm telling you, right? Let's do it. Oh man. Anyway, guys, I'm telling you, I remember sitting there and on family night, and it was like the lesson was how to listen to the still small voice of the Holy Spirit. So they had everyone in the family. We played this game. We built an obstacle course in our living room, books and chairs and pillows and stuff. And then we put a blindfold on one of the kids, and then I acted as the voice that was going to guide them through this maze. And if they didn't bump into anything and got to me, they got a reward. Okay, so we had some kind of a gift reward that they got if they could make it through the maze without bumping into something. And then they had to listen to my voice. Everyone else's voice was to try to tell them the opposite, try to get them to bump into something. And if you bumped into something 3 times, you were out. So we found that, and then I got to put the blindfold on, and then Rhonda got to put the blindfold on. I'm telling you, and then we would record this, okay? And we had more fun recording it, and then especially when Rhonda would do it. Anytime Rhonda did any of these activities, it was funny. It was just funnier when Rhonda was doing it, and then she would bust out laughing and fall and hit and knock over the obstacle. Anyway, that's just one. And then at the end of it, we got everybody together and said, okay, who are the people in your life that are yelling opposite instructions at you, that would try to get you to walk off course and not walk on the course? What are some of those voices? TV, yeah. Video games, yeah. Some of my friends, there's certain friends that would try to get me to walk off course instead of walking on course. Y'all hear what I'm saying?
Right.
Oh my gosh. I'm sitting there on those family nights doing these family night skits that I only looked at the skit 30 seconds before we started doing the skit. Okay. It's like I wasn't prepared. I didn't prepare properly. That didn't matter. I was doing it, and I'm sitting there like, and I saw, it's like I'd floated up above my head, and I was looking down from the ceiling on this family, and me sitting there reading this material, and I'm thinking, you're doing it, Greg. You're doing it. You're being a good dad. This is what good dad.
This is what good dad do, Greg. This is it, buddy.
This is how to dad. This is how you dad, Greg. Oh man, I felt it. I felt it in those tiny moments, because most of my moments are, I'm not a good dad. I'm a failure. Right. I'm working way too hard. I've not been spending my quality time with God or with my family. But that in those moments, in those little moments that I was doing that, I was nailing it. I felt like I was a big old stud. Woo!
Well, what it says, what it says to me, Greg, is by taking Wednesdays off, it did communicate externally to your team, to customers, but it also communicated to your family of how much of a priority they are, how much of a priority they were, and as I know, they still are in your life. And by having family nights, you're doing it, and like you said, you didn't do it right, as though there's a right and a wrong to do it, but still you were not afraid of failing to the point that you got in there and made it happen. And that's so important. It doesn't matter. You ask people, and I've heard you ask, well, what's more important, quantity or quality, right? And the answer is really neither, because you could spend a lot of really bad time together, or not very much great time. But the truth is, you want relationship building time, and that's what it sounds like. Those family nights. Hey, let's push cell phones to the side. Let's push activities to the side. This is designated time where we are
And hey, every week we had to protect that. We had to protect family night, and the kids really didn't mind protecting it. If they had a soccer practice we just had to tell the soccer coach, look, our kids aren't going to be able to be there on Wednesday night. Our church didn't have a Wednesday night service of any kind, so that ended up being a pretty good night. There were times when there were appointments that they could only meet with me on a Wednesday. Now there were times that I had to go. I was going to be out of town, or I just couldn't be there. But what it said to my children, I really believe this, is that every one of our children have a relationship cup. And there are little tiny pinholes in the bottom of that cup. And I realized that it took about 7 days for all of the relationship cup to get empty. And so when they're thinking, where's dad? He got up before I woke up. He got home before I went to bed. When they all knew that Wednesday was coming. Okay. Yep. Wednesday or Tuesday night after work, after 5:30 or whatever on Tuesday, dad was going to be there. Okay. Yep. And so it just, more often than not, I tried my best to not try to do business calls or just do any kind of meet with people. That was important when our children were much younger. That we did that. So those are two things that I wish.
Those are fantastic, Greg. I think those are great things for families to implement. Okay, so landing this plane or wrapping it up, so that families can consume this. But what to a family that's just getting started, or a family who this whole living on purpose or having an identity or a vision as a family, somebody who's barely walking on this path or thinking of walking down the path, but not quite so sure they want to take on this overwhelming and daunting task, even though it's not. What's one piece of advice that, or word of encouragement that you would give them to somebody getting started?
That's good. I think number one thing that I would say is that for you to never, I kind of fell into the trap of seeing all of these things, of being intentional and having a family night and having a annual goal setting weekend where we write goals for our marriage and each other and each of our kids. And, I began to see that somewhat as a formula. This is the formula. And if you follow this formula, I remember for years I would share this, the cookie dough story, where every family has their own recipe for their cookie dough recipe. We got it from our parents and grandparents, and they passed it down. This is, chocolate chip cookies, and everyone's recipe is different. Some families have more sugar in their cookie dough, which is kind of their family identity, what they're identified by, right? Some families have chocolate chips, and some have a few nuts in theirs. Ours had a few nuts in our recipe, right? But yet every family takes this batter and stirs it up, and then they wad these cookies into a round ball, and then they lay it on the cookie sheet. And every family, I got this vision of our little church that I grew up in, and there were about 25 families that were in that church, and every family had their own recipe, their own batch, and those cookies represented each of their children. They would put them on this big cookie sheet, and the oven was the teenage years, and they would put it in the oven, and then they'd stand around the oven and say things like, "I wonder how yours are going to turn out." "Well, I sure hope mine turn out good." You know, we've been observing your family, and you guys have some really good ingredients. Y'all have a lot of fun, it seems like, and it seems like you guys are always treat each other really well, and you seem like you guys are really happy, and you know, these other families, you know, we don't know about them, whatever. But then they open the oven and they pull out the cookie sheet. That's just when their kids are all grown, you know. And they go, "Man, look, they're all ooh and ah." And they look at this little couple. All 5 of theirs turned out awesome. I mean, they turned out awesome. They're doctors and lawyers and Indian chiefs, and you're going, "Man, how'd you get your kids to turn out so good?" "We don't know. We were just so excited. We just thank God. We didn't, you know, we can't take credit." The other couple over here, none of theirs turned out good. In fact, one of theirs fell off the cookie sheet onto the burner and just burned up. Okay. And they're going, "Oh man, what tactfully, hey, what happened to yours? how did that happen to your kids?" You know? And they go, "We don't know. We crossed our fingers just like you. We prayed for our kids just like you. Oh, I don't know how ours turned out so bad." You're right. And we're going, okay, there's got to be more to it than just standing around the oven and crossing your fingers and hoping they turn out good, right? I mean, isn't there something we can do? Can't we turn the heat up or down or something? I mean, do we just have to hope, you know? And you know what I realized, that really there isn't a formula. There's not a look. Every one of us are on a journey, and every one of our children are on a journey. And you know, I just want every family to know that look, God is all we can be responsible for. You know, even the King of the universe, the most wonderful Father that there is in the whole universe, even his children didn't turn out incredibly well. Adam and Eve made some really terrible choices, right? And you and I have never blamed God for the choices they made. We haven't. We don't think like that. We don't think that if Cain would have never killed his brother, if Cain and Abel's grandfather was just more involved in their lives, right? We've never had that thought that no, and yet we in families carry so much of that. Look, I've not made every great decision in my life. My children haven't made great decisions there, and yet I feel like I'm so responsible for that, you know? And so I just want to say, what we want Family ID to be for you is this gigantic encouragement to just become more intentional this year than you were last year. We just want you to implement 1 or 2 things this year from the material that we have developed, the resources that we have, the free resources, the programs that we're creating and that are coming, and you're going to be blown away at the things that are coming in the near future that are going to help you as a family learn how to live out live out this family vision, live out this family mission, live out these core values. And we're going to do this together. We're in this together. You know, we're going to make mistakes. We have to. It's part of it. Okay. We're not going to do it right. We are going to screw it up. And that's all built in. God has built all of that in to the incredible blessing that you being intentional and passing this vision to every generation of your family, how you truly are going to lay the foundations for many godly generations in your family. Hey guys, we're in this together. I don't know it all. I haven't learned it all. I haven't implemented it all. I haven't implemented most. I've implemented a lot, but I haven't implemented everything. But you don't have to. It's God sees the intention of your heart, and He blesses that intention, and blesses each of your actions as you move. So, if there's any encouragement I could give you today, it'd be to just become more intentional today than you were yesterday. And when when things don't work out the way you intended, and they don't work out based upon you didn't hit any of the goals you wrote down in your family goal setting, then that's perfectly okay. We get to start anew. We serve a God that is the God of second chances and third chances and 1,000 chances. And we just get up, we dust ourselves off, we keep moving. So that's awesome. I'm so proud of you, Derek. Thank you for being a part of helping us take Family ID to the world, and appreciate you, my brother.
Well, I appreciate you, Greg, and thanks for sharing your story and your history and where this all came from. And thanks for sharing a bit of encouragement to the families, because it is true. If you can just take one additional step today to be more intentional, as we started it off, to be more encouraging, more positive with your words, in full truth and full love at the same time, they can do it and do a great job. Greg, thank you for your life's work, for pouring it out for families around the world, and thank you for what you do.
Appreciate you.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Greg Gunn with Family ID.